I think I have several little quirks in my life that have sort of maybe guided me to this point. And I almost don't know which one to start with. But let me just start with the whole issue of writing. I think writing is a good one. Okay, you've heard me say I think I have written something every day of my life, probably since I first learned how to write. And I think I started writing very early, but I don't think I started writing sentences and words and paragraphs. I didn't start that very early at all. My grandmother taught me to read down in the country, and she took these letters. She would like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I guess by now it'd be like phonics. I guess that it would be called, but I don't know if we had a word for it back then. But my grandmother would write these letters and put each one letter on a piece of paper, and then she would tape them, and I'm sorry, she would nail them really around the house, all around the house. There's a fairly long porch, and from A to Z. Okay, and then for every word that was there was every letter there was a word that went with it, and so you had to say the letter first. I can still remember that, and I'm telling you, I could have had to be at least 3 or 4 years old, but I can remember that as if I can close my eyes now, and I can actually see those letters around the house. And so every day you would just learn a letter, and it would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the alphabet. And I don't think I knew I was learning the alphabet because that was never quite how she presented it. It was like A is for apple, and she would say apple, and I would say apple. B is for ball. I'd say ball. Now I'd say ball. And she would teach me how to just sound that word out because they had these kind of rules for us. One of the rules was that you couldn't drag your words out, and we had to say words and not grunts. So let me back up. Let me tell you about that because I don't know if this is a thing that's peculiar to other African Americans or not, but this was very common in my family, and that we could carry on whole conversations without ever saying a word. It's true. Let me see if I can do it. Let me see if I can do it for you now. I'll give you an example of what that was like. You'd say, "How was your day today?" Say, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm." Okay. Do you want something to eat? Are you hungry? Mm-hmm. What do you want? What do you want? Tell me what you want. We're gonna have collard greens today and cornbread. Now, if you don't eat all of your collard greens, you understand. Now, you're not gonna get any dessert. Okay. Mm-hmm. So tell me about what happened at school today. Yeah, I mean, we could just grunt these little sounds out, and everybody knew what you meant when you did the sounds. Well, I was taught at an early age that it was okay to do that when I was home. It was allowed to do it, but this was something that we could not do outside the home. You didn't do that, and we didn't do it inside the home if there were like guests there. When guests came to our house, you were on your very best behavior, and your best behavior was taught to you, so you knew what that was. So that was one of the best behavior kinds of things, was to sound your words out clearly. Don't drag the words, and you have to sound them very clearly. So my grandmother taught me all of that. And so what was happening, though, was that she was teaching me alphabet, but at the same time, I think she was teaching me to read. She was not only teaching me to read, but I think she was also teaching me how to understand. She was teaching me to make meaning of what I was reading, and all of that served me very well. So by the time I got to the first grade, I remember my teacher's name was Miss Ison, and she came to the house to visit my parents, and they were whispering and talking and whispering and going on. All I know is that I heard her tell my parents that they had to be very careful with me, that she thought that, she said, "You have, Gloria's a very special child." I remember she told them that. And that they had to be very careful with me. And she left them this little stack of books for me to read. And they were not books like we had in the first grade. They were real books, real things. And so I would read those books. I can't even remember what they were now, but I know they were real word books. They weren't like See Jane Run. No, they were way past that. And so my mother, what she started to do was that she would take old magazines and things that people had thrown away, and she would have me read those, and she would give them to me to read, or or we went to the library a lot, and we'd read books. And I mean, she did everything she could to really keep me sort of stimulated as far as reading, because I never had enough. I just wanted to read and read and read and read and read. And then I didn't have anybody to talk to. Maybe that's why I was so quiet, because most people were not reading the same stuff that I was reading, and they weren't even interested in reading that much. Reading was something, I think, to a lot of the people that I knew, reading was something that you learned in school. You did that work in school, and then you just left. But school to me was always a lot more than that. And so I read a lot. I've read a lot. I mean, oh my goodness, I've read more books than I care to remember, which is probably why I don't read that much now. But back to writing, because that was all connected to my writing. One of the things that I started to notice at a very young age was that after a while, all the things that I was reading sort of sounded alike. It really did. You know, they all had the sort of the same way of saying things, and if they said them any different, they put them in these little quotation marks. You know, like it was a different language or something. And so I would read it, and I would laugh about it, but I never really liked that. I didn't like that at all. And then I remember I would read people like Paul Laurence Dunbar. I loved Paul Laurence Dunbar, because Paul Laurence Dunbar's writing seemed to have gone back and forth, you know, between his own dialect and what's called quote unquote proper English. And I love that, because what I really felt with Paul Laurence Dunbar was when he was speaking from his own dialect, from that own heart, and you could hear it. Oh yes, yes. I was with him all the way. That was my thing. I could read it all day long. I could feel it. I could understand it. I wanted to be like that, and so I started writing. I wrote all kinds of stuff. I wrote poems, and I kept diaries for as long as I could remember. But I would just have it for myself. And then we would do little Easter speeches at church. I love doing those little Easter speeches at church. And then sometimes I would come home and I'd just write my own little Easter speech. I love doing that. So writing has just always been a part of who I am. That's just the way it is. And I'll tell you more about that. I'm tired right now. But I'll tell you more about that, because that's something that most people didn't understand too. I love words. I love touching them, feeling them, hearing them. I love words. That's just the way it is. But what I don't like, I don't like all the structures that I'm forced into sometimes. That's why I did not like writing when I was in graduate school, because I didn't like writing that stuff. For me, it became like a game. Like, okay, if this is how you say it's supposed to be, then I'll go ahead and do it this way. And then I would take whatever I was going to say and basically put it in the little formats that they told me I had to put it in, knowing good and well that was not really what I wanted to say, nor was it how I wanted to say it. And so it would be years later before I got to the point where I said, okay, the heck with it. That's it. I'm going to say this the way I want to say it, take it or leave it. And once I made that decision within myself, oh, it was freedom. It's like words just pour out of me now. I have no problem. I get up every morning. The first thing I do when I get up is I write, because it's as if things are being revealed and they're just coming out of my head, sometimes faster than I can put them down on paper, or excuse me, not on paper anymore, and I can get them in my iPad very fast, very fast. So I write it. I write every day now. Every day I write. So that's all I want to say. That's where I am with writing right now. Okay, bye-bye.